Good evening, this is Kelly McKenney Golden, and I'm here doing my Module 3 Special Education Interviews perspectives from a principal, a special educator, and a paraprofessional for EDL 853 for Professor Clay's spring session. So a little bit about the background of the three interviewees that I interviewed. The principal I chose was Joanne Mello Hodgson. She was a principal in Urban Massachusetts School for about 23 years, and she's currently the executive director of a nonprofit organization called Master and Urban Educators that goes into area urban schools and helps them give them support and helps them perhaps restructure and use some of the innovations that she developed when she was a principal in an urban school district. My special education teacher that I interviewed was Lynn Grantham. She was a special education for 10 years, and she worked both in vocational and alternative learning programs for special education, and she currently is the director of student services for a school district in Rhode Island. And finally, the paraprofessional that I interviewed was Janice Gaspar. She's a paraprofessional, has been at the middle and high school levels, and she's also the parent of a special education student. Her son has Down syndrome, and he is in the alternate assessment program. So for our first question around child fine procedures, Joanne Hodgson, the school principal, had a lot to say around kind of early detecting of students who might need extra support. She said that her school had opened a family center, which could deal with general enrollment, but also could do initial screenings for any students that may have disabilities. She also worked a lot in conjunction with DCF and the housing authority in the district that she was working in, and really kind of used them as collaborative team members in being able to support families who might have children who need some extra support. The special education teacher talked briefly a little bit about the early screening process, but also really in depth talked about the RTI process. She mentioned that she had learned quite a bit from a program called rticentral.org, which is actually it's a Massachusetts site, and really kind of how the RTI process at the middle school and high school level is really kind of the go-to for child fine procedures at those levels. The RTI team would be made up of a number of individuals within the school, and they would kind of discuss a student, see if it was maybe an academic or an SEL issue, and then suggest some interventions and do some really active progress monitoring around those interventions to see if there could be any gains made. For my paraprofessional, she spoke a lot about early intervention with regards to her son and how that early intervention was really instrumental in helping her son Jacob kind of make some gains early on. And then she talked a lot about school-based assessments. Her son Jacob has been involved in special education throughout his years in school, and so she's kind of seen things from two perspectives, as a parent and as a paraprofessional. And she definitely saw that those school-based assessments were imperative for screening for students that may be identified as having a disability. The most challenging part of the role, a lot of the day-to-day things Joanne Hodgson, the school principal, found to be challenging. She said the facilitation of school meetings, she found really, kind of like that, what she referred to as kind of the minutia of the day-to-day is really what she had the most struggles with. She said that it was really important. She felt that, especially along the role of special education, was to have the support of her SEL support staff, in particular her student adjustment counselor, to help kind of navigate some of the meetings and have sometimes, more of a knowledge of special education than she might have. And then overall, The school culture, she felt, was something that needed to be improved of as on a whole in order, for some of those challenges to be overcome in the building. Special education teacher, she felt that the balancing of the needs of students, parents, and teachers was always, really kind of a juggling act. And then in particular, she spoke about transitions, transitions from the middle school to high school, and then more importantly, transitions from high school to the outside world, and wanting to be sure that not only were students receiving explicit instruction in, the areas where they might have more need, but also preparing them to be advocates for themselves and be able to be successful outside of the school walls. As a paraprofessional, Denise felt that she wanted to help all students, not even just students that she was assigned, but other students that she knew were struggling, and sometimes trying to balance that was a difficulty for her. The most rewarding part of the job, hands down across the board, we see student success. Joanne Hodgson also spoke about building capacity in staff. It's something that I got to work with her firsthand, and it's definitely something that she excels at, and I could see her having a lot of pride in that. She also talked about the excitement of parents when they see their students succeed. And again, across the board for special education and for the paraprofessional, they said student success was the biggest thing, to be able to see students overcome their disabilities and be able to be successful and progress either to the next grade or progress to outside of an educational program. Advice on supervision of staff. The school principal felt that one of the things that really needs to be the center is that they're all part of the same team, that everyone is working together towards common goal and mission. And she also said that it was really important to embrace paraprofessionals. She mentioned to me how she had a monthly meeting with paraprofessionals just to kind of see how they were doing, what their challenges were, and to really kind of embrace them as part of the overall school culture, so that everybody was on the same page. All staff were always on the same page. And that way, supervision became a little more seamless. For Lynn Grantham, the special education teacher, again, she felt that collaboration or that teamwork sense was certainly very important, and that it was really kind of a shared leadership amongst staff members in the school. So there wasn't necessarily a hierarchy, but that everybody took an important role in sharing the leadership of the school. Denise felt that for supervising staff, really the most important thing was to interact with staff on a regular basis. And really the more that you were interacting with them, the more that you would see kind of day to day, where their strengths were, where their weaknesses were, and that you'd be able to address them in a more timely manner. Effectively working with parents. One of the struggles that Joanne Hodgson, the school principal, brought up was that in the area of special education, a lot of parents kind of see their students as, they're very protective of their students. And, Joanne always wanted to motivate parents to have more of a growth mindset, to challenge their students, and for their students that they could grow, and that, these accommodations and modifications were in place now to be able to help students at some point meet those goals and maybe no longer need those accommodations and modifications. And to assure parents that the school was up for the challenge, that whatever their student brought to the table, that the teachers and staff would find a way to work with them to make them successful. For the special education teacher, she felt that clear and constant communication was always important. The parents needed to feel that they were being heard. If they didn't feel that they were being heard and they weren't being listened to, then that relationship was going to flounder right away. Always to have organized meetings. She talked about, for parent meetings, that there be a clear agenda and there always be next steps of where we're moving forth at the end of that meeting, and to use a clear language with the parents, not to get bogged down with acronyms, and of course always make sure that if things needed to be in a parent's native language, that was possible too, through use of a translator. For the paraprofessional, again, communication was really key, and then understanding the parent's viewpoint, that the parents really know their children best, and that the school staff really needs to understand, where the parents are coming from. I think everyone's coming from the point of view that they want students to succeed, but the parents, again, know their students best and really usually have some great ideas and recommendations that the school needs to be open and hearing. Working with regular ed teachers. For Joanne Hodgson, she actually started specific teacher teams. So she would have 3 regular ed teachers, 3 to 4 regular ed teachers, 1 special education teacher, and then a larger concentric team of administrative staff, academic coaches, interventionists, and the adjustment counselor. And those teacher teams would all work together in collaboration all of the time. So she really felt that she didn't necessarily distinguish between regular education teachers and special education teachers because they were all part of the same teacher teams. For Lynn Grantham, who was a special education teacher, she felt that constant communication and really having the regular ed teachers have a clear understanding what the students' needs are was really important. And FaceTime, so that she felt that a lot of times if she went out to the regular education teachers and met with them face-to-face and explained things, that went a lot further than maybe having, like a checklist or kind of a IEP cheat sheets sometimes that get passed out at the beginning of the year, which are helpful, but she felt that really kind of going to the teachers and meeting with them with students, first thing one-on-one and really keeping up that communication was really helpful. For the educator, Denise did not always feel that the regular teachers understood all of her students' needs. Denise has worked with students that she's been specifically assigned to one-on-one, and then groups of students that she's been assigned to as well. She felt that sometimes the regular education teachers, even though they knew students had IEPs, they didn't necessarily really know how to serve those needs or maybe the extent of the disability. Advice for first-year administrators. Joanne Hodgson actually had some really specific advice, so I'm going to go to that right now. She had 9 key things for me to mention. One that I put down: be clear and guided in your beliefs, define the mission and gain buy-in from your staff, value all members of your staff, be consistent, communicate with clarity, take time to breathe and give yourself a moment to think before you act, have integrity in all things, share the challenges and the successes, and listen as well as speak. So she has 9 key steps to being a good first-year administrator. For Lynn Grantham, she felt that having a seasoned mentor was really instrumental in being successful in your first year. And she thought, just ask as many questions as you can, and there are no dumb questions, so just keep asking if you're unsure, and also to be humble. If you make a mistake, just own up to it and say that next time that you can do better. For the paraprofessional, she felt that administrators, especially in their first year, they really should be seen and involved and make connections with families that had to be out there, part of the school community, not hiding away in their office, but really just kind of being out there and being seen. And that was really one of the key things. The relationship between the special education teacher and the principal. For the school principal, she felt they were team members. So again, there wasn't necessarily a hierarchy, that they were kind of collaborating as members of a team. Special education teacher felt pretty much the same way, that there needed to be really good communication and that it was really more of a partnership. And for Denise, she felt that it wasn't necessarily a special education teacher, but the special education department chair that really needed to work closely with the principal and then kind of disseminate some of that information down to the other special education teachers. Characteristics of aspiring admin. One of the things that Joanne said, this is a quote, she said that special education isn't a goal, it's a ladder to help students with disabilities climb to new heights. So sometimes she said that parents will see special education as a means of getting students more assistance, and that's really their goal. And really, she said that is not the goal. The goal is really all about trying to get students to succeed so they know the strategies. They don't have to have additional supports, and then they can succeed, in the future on their own. For the special educator, she felt being a good listener, knowledge of the law, and up-to-date research was really important. She basically said because knowledge of the law and up-to-date research is so important that basically your job is never done, and that those times when you might have some downtime, that's really time that you should be researching, if there have been any new legal developments, researching what other schools in the area may be doing or across the country would be doing, and really kind of keeping your eye on any new developments in education and in special education. Paraprofessional felt should be open, friendly, and honest, and probably most importantly, approachable. Someone that parents and that staff feel that they can go to and they're going to be heard. So comparing and contrasting my three interviewees, what I saw overall as kind of a common theme that they all shared was student success, communication, and team collaboration. Those are definitely things that I heard kind of as common themes a lot of the time throughout their responses. For the principal, I felt that she was a little different in talking more about the use of community supports, the support of the SEL support staff, such as an adjustment counselor, and really putting an emphasis on including paraprofessionals. For the special education teacher, she talked a lot about the RTI process, and then also spoke to having really kind of up-to-date research, a knowledge of the law, and really how important it is to have a supportive mentor. And for the paraprofessional, one of the things that she really said that was very different from the other two was the involvement of a special education department chair or special education coordinator, and also how important it is for administrators, for principals to be approachable to students, to teachers, to staff, and to parents and community members. As I reflect on this, there are a couple of things that stood out to me. I felt that the principal, Joanne Hodgson, I felt that it was interesting. I think a lot of her answers were influenced by the demographic that she served. She worked in an urban community. The other two interviewees have really no experience of working in urban community, and so I thought it was interesting. I think Joanne's kind of focus on using community supports and state supports really kind of came to light more because of the population that she served. I also thought it was, really interesting that really across the board there was a focus on student success. That was something that all of the interviewees were proud of. The priority of teamwork, whether it be in the form of teamwork or collaboration or working together, those were common themes that came up again and again. And that communication is essential. Communication at meetings, communication to parents, communication to teachers, to staff, to paras. That was something that came up again and again. Thoughts on the future? Well, for myself as a future school administrator, I think I have a pretty solid working knowledge of special ed. I'm certainly no expert, but I'm someone who kind of learns on the go, and I really always keep my ears open. Even though I was trained as a regular education teacher, the population I serve now as really an SEL support staff is really the special ed population more often than not. And so I think my working knowledge of special education just continues to grow and grow. One of the things I've always prided myself on is that I've had a good relationship with parents. When I worked in an urban school district in Massachusetts, the principal there would actually joke with me that I was the parent whisperer because even the really challenging parents, I was able to really have a good rapport with. I think I'm able to collaborate pretty effectively, and lead a team. I know kind of what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I try to delegate the best I can. And one of the things that I pride myself on is being very resourceful and connecting with supports. I really try to kind of similar to what Joanne Hodgson had said, look to community support efforts and community resources, and what the school might not have, kind of reach out to where I know that the school can find it. So I think that's something that I want to continue to build as a building administrator. So I'm going to end here, and I really thank you for watching my presentation, and I will be seeing you soon.